and welcome to another episode of the Ultra Happy Podcast. I am your host, ultra runner and coach Tania, and I'm here with our magnificent co-host Andy.
Hello.
Yay! I'm the only cheer that you have.
Aye, cheerleader.
Hopefully everyone listening, they're like, yeah.
I know, delighted. They're back.
He's
oh no.
back. Thank God we're not stuck with that nutcase in the microphone. How's everyone doing? We are.
Are we still talking?
We're still
Are we just talking to the people in Dubai now? Is that what it is? We've moved the last. How's everybody doing in Dubai?
Everyone. I heard a lot of people, and now that I went to the race, I met a couple of people that were actually listeners from the podcast.
You did?
And I was asking when were they usually listening to the podcast, and as we all do, runners, myself included. We do it when we're running and we're, so if you're starting your run, if you're starting your workout, if you're just driving or whatever, thank you for listening, first of all. And yeah.
Actually, a big shout out to those people. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they were like, or I heard a girl screaming at me, I follow you on Instagram. I was like, thank you. Just kinda I'm like trying not to look like I'm about to die. So yeah, that was nice. So thank you everyone for listening. And today we have a really interesting episode. We are going to start digging into the stage 1 and stage 2 of the desert. We're definitely going all in. The first episode was about a little bit of the pre-race, and now we're going just like start the race. A little bit before that, a little life update. I decided to chop my hair.
I just hope it hasn't taken all your powers away like Samson.
No, I think, remember, the objective is to lose grams of weight.
Hold on a minute. No, it's lose grams for your backpack. No, your body. Well, more your body.
Yeah, because you're carrying it.
Sure,
so
why not?
I know at least I lost like half a kilo.
I'm just delighted. It makes you look about 5 years younger.
Yeah, I look. What do you think, guys? So I look younger.
Actually, I think the reason it came about is because we were looking through some pictures.
Oh, you think that's what it was?
Of a while ago, while Tanya's mum and dad were here. And when we seen the pictures, like, oh, you look so young. Next day, Tanya turns up with the haircut.
He's saying I look young.
I'm just thinking.
That hair is coming off.
I think it's nothing to do with the racing.
And I got my first mani-pedi of my adult life as well. I know.
Your adult life. No,
I haven't done since
in
you
Mexico.
met me. When did I do a manicure?
You used to go with your mum to a place in Mexico, a wee place, and you get a pedicure or manicure.
Well,
or whatever it was.
in Mexico, I haven't lived in Mexico since 8 years ago. So, yeah, that's how long it's been, and I put a lot of miles in those feet.
I tell you what, like. We have been together for 8 years, and during those 8 years, I have not went near those feet because I see what they look like. So exactly. God help the poor person that was dealing with them.
I did feel bad about her, but it doesn't. I've seen worse runners' feet out there. I know you don't.
I don't know. I don't know. Is that a fetish or something you've not told me about?
But, like in this race, for example, we were in the camp and everyone's wearing sandals after the race, and you can see like some really damaged feet out there, but.
Okay.
Mine are not that bad. And yeah, it was just a lot of calluses. And I've heard from other experienced runners that it's good to have a pedi. So I decided not to do it before the race just because I've never tested that. So I decided to do it now because it's supposed to be like your, with like a car, what they say, like a...
Suspension?
Like a suspension. So if the suspension is hard, that's why it's more painful. Because as you know, guys, my issue is that the sole of my feet get really... painful. So I was like chatting and asking people like, how do I get rid of this pain? Like what? And there was more than 2 that said, get rid of the calluses in your heel, because that would be like the suspension is not, as it's hard. That's what it hurts. So like I said, I decided to try it. I will let you know if that worked.
I love the way that runners think of things.
I don't know. It may make sense though. It made sense for me in my head. So we'll see. We'll see if that. Suspension. In my head was like, I need to build the calluses because that's, that made them hard and toughen my feet. Yeah. But I guess it doesn't. I don't know. So I'll let you know if that worked or not. So I'm going to try to keep my feet a little bit softer for the next race. And yeah, hope for the best for that. I've never done that before. So we'll see. And like you were saying, my parents left 2 days ago. Very sad. We have them here for Well, we met in Namibia. We'll talk about that in the last stage. But really, just to give you a little bit of the story, they did run, climbed, crawled the last 10K with me in Namibia. It was so much fun. Like, can you imagine my parents? Can you imagine my parents? My mom is a rock star. I didn't know my dad could run. I was a little bit worried about my dad a little bit because he has a really like a bad back and But then once we, when we started off, my dad was running. Like he was probably sprinting. Like maybe that's where it's coming from. I don't know. Maybe he's never tried running, but he's actually a runner. It was very interesting to see that he was just like running, like just you could see him just going really fast and just kind of like jumping around and really enjoying the trail. So that was interesting. Anyway.
And then they come back here and party with me.
And they came back here and then they party with Andy. Yeah. So exactly. They had the two.
It's good to see we've still got that separation.
I know. It's me, like, I take them to these wild places and they're like absolutely
And then
dead.
I take them to the wild places.
And then they go party with Andy. I know. My dad loves a good party. Andy likes a good party. They go out and...
We could write a book about our stories just
I know. They go out. I don't drink even, so you guys can go and, I mean, you can have that little piece of party with whenever they are here. So that's always fun. And very sad they left. We were able to show them around our new home. That was very exciting. I was able to see my new home because I left here even before it was ready. We'll do a wee tour later on on the podcast so you can see. But it was a little bit of a remodeling camp still when I left. So it was exciting for me to open the door, show my parents and actually see it myself because it was a little bit more finished when I came. So that was good. Another update on this is that we have started our paperwork and everything for the golden visa. So it's been really, really quick, really easy to do. I did my medical test yesterday. It's a fitness test, which is not a fitness test. Like I was like ready to go running and, do jumping jacks or whatever. And they're like, oh, it's just blood test and an x-ray. So no fitness test. That's how they call it. But there was a blood test.
I've got to say, incredible. I love it here. I'm going to do mine shortly, but you want to see the places here. I
put it in my Instagram stories.
We went to get the test done, and you walk into this place and you are greeted, no joking, by a robot. By a robot. I was captivated by this.
I know. Well, I was panicking because someone was going to pinch me at a person. I was like, a robot is not going to do my test, right? Imagine a robot trying to get my blood test. No, it was a human. But I was like,
I could hear you doing a wee scream where you're getting your blood, and I'm sitting there talking to the robot about the water.
So there was another robot just walking around.
Well, gliding around
with waters, offering people water. And I would say I had to grab one because I was like, I can't say no to a robot. No.
But actually, do you know something? For anybody that's interested in applying for a visa or moving to Dubai, actually the process is quite easy. It's not very. When you start reading about it, you start to get a bit confused. But actually, once you've done the process, you realise how simple it is.
And it's super quick. Like they're like, you are going to get a link or whatever in 2 days. And I get it, not even in 2 days. I get it like that afternoon or early the next day. So everything has been moving really, really fast. So hopefully I can get we can actually have the proper like resident card soon and be official residents of Dubai soon. But listen, we're on that.
And also because I think actually when we were researching it, we found it quite hard to find information on it. So anybody is so much information. Yeah, anybody is interested because it can be a bit confusing. Even shoot us a message, and what we'll do is we'll talk you through
where to go
and
we went through the golden visa site, so I know there's multiple ways to get the visas. So we don't know all of them. We just did it with the golden visa, but if you are applying for that one, we are happier.
But the process is still the same to go to the same places, so just shoot us a message. We can help you.
Definitely. And I think it's because there's so many information out there. I think there's actually a bust. So you're like, what is the right one? Because there's so many and it's just so crazy. But we were able to figure it out. And we start a new countdown Now for Gobi.
Another countdown.
I know. Here we go again. 5 weeks. We're 5 weeks away. What are we going to do when we have no countdown?
We'll find something else.
Okay.
We'll count down. But I think I was saying to you earlier.
Countdown for holiday.
It's funny how things feel like they come around a lot quicker when you've got a countdown.
Well, yeah, now it's 5 weeks. I think we started in Namibia with like 16 weeks or something, and now these ones are going to be just not more than 6, I think. So each desert in between, there's like 5 or 6 maximum weeks. Yeah. So yeah, 5 weeks away from Gobi.
I know that we've not started on about the stage 1 yet, but actually maybe you can talk us through at some point about what that looks like from a recovery point of view. Could just come into my head there that. You had the 16 weeks in preparation and getting ready, ultimately, right? And then that was grand. But
what happens
between? Once you've got a race, you've only really got 5 or 6 weeks between them.
Yeah.
Do you train or do you?
No. Well, when we spoke with Sarah, my coach, what we planned since the beginning, we knew we were going to race the 5 deserts since the beginning as well. So we did all the training before, we tapered, and then we did the first desert. And now it's just pretty much a game of recovering, maintaining, and race. Recovering, maintaining, and race. So there's no more like actual hard training to do. Right, okay. Because, I mean, my body is just in so much stress. There's no point in putting it into more stress of training. Yeah. So the training has been done. It's over. And we treated these 5 races as in one big block of races. Okay. It's a very big block, but just a big block of races. So right now it's just about recovering. I've been off 10 days so far. I came back yesterday to do a little bit of mobility, really light weights, and I am so sore today. I literally did a couple of squats with a really small kettlebell, and I'm dying right now. Like, I can barely sit down. So yeah, it's just nice and easy. We just need to introduce again a little bit of weights and running. I went running yesterday.
We haven't discussed that. I was just thinking how does that work? Because I'm sure a lot of people would want to know that because if you're doing so much in a year, what happens between the gaps?
You just need to be like really nice to yourself in between races, you know.
Is that why you've had so much pizza?
Yeah. And so much Tabasco. So much Tabasco. That's my new...
honestly, I would have sworn, and I'm going to hate myself for saying this, I would have sworn she had some sort of thing going on, like a pregnancy or whatever. You know when people get those things?
Oh man, I was
where they are addicted to something. What do you call it again?
I was just craving.
A craving. So I remember when I was born, my mum said, I had a craving for coal and custard. I mean,
I have this craving right now.
Bottles of Tabasco.
For Tabasco and salty stuff. I've been eating everything so salty. Maybe because I spend it so many days eating sweet stuff that when I came out of that, actually the first restaurant that I went with my parents when the race was over, I finished a whole bottle of Tabasco. I ordered a pizza and a pasta. The pasta was swimming in Tabasco sauce. Like I was just, and since then I can't stop now.
Can't stop. We're going through bottles of it.
Bottles every day. So yeah. My poor stomach. In fact, probably that's why my stomach can't recover. I'm like, my stomach hasn't recovered. Why is that?
We had this really funny conversation about it. We were sitting down and we'd got a pizza. A funny talk about pizza. We got pizza.
Obviously.
Here, and Tania says, give me the bottle of Tabasco down. So we've got this big bottle of Tabasco comes down, and she's pouring it on, and I'm like,
you're ruining
the food. Why are you ruining the food? I said, everything you're putting like millions of Tabasco on it. And she's like, that. No, but I've just got this craving for it just now. And I noted on the Tabasco that it wasn't from Mexico.
It's not from Mexico.
I always thought it was from Mexico, and I said, it's not even Mexican.
I know, you're like, imposter. It is from the States. Yeah, it is from the States. And I was reading, it's like mostly vinegar. That's why probably I like it. So, yeah. Anyway, that's
the Tabasco story.
Tania craving Tabasco and just
not spicy. For the record.
No, I can't. No, just really craving really spicy and salty stuff after the race. Funny fact. Anyway, so let's dive in fully in the first stage of the race. The first stage was 40 kilometers. Every race or every stage starts at 8 a.m. in the morning. And Sam, the race director, we met her in season 1. She gives a little bit of a briefing at 7 or 7:30. Oh my God, I can't remember. 7, I think. It's 1 hour before.
Yeah, because the race starts at 8.
And she will also like, that will help for if anyone's sleeping in and they haven't woken up. This kind of like the waking call for everyone and then she will, walk us through a little bit of the stage, like what is coming, a little bit of the terrain, what is expected and all that. So I was very excited for the stage 1 because that is the iconic, I don't know, you've probably seen the pictures in Racing the Planet and more so for this race, is that picture of some like pink waters and then like a runner coming in the middle, the flamingos flying. And that was one of the pictures I was like looking forward to have or to be in that. When you see a picture and you're, I don't know, for holiday and you're like, oh, I can't imagine myself there. That was one of the shots that I was like, oh, I can't imagine myself. I want to be there. So it was really fun because that was stage 1. So that's the salt farm. You run through salt farms. So that's why it's the color of the water. I think they do something with the water and then the flamingos.
It's the interaction of the salt and the water. It's a chemical reaction.
Yeah, so we have that in Mexico actually as well. So it was really, really fun to kind of like pass through that with the flamingos flying around. It was just so magical, like so funny. And then you go through like a salt desert. So all the terrain is salt and it's quite crunchy. It's quite sleepy a little bit. So your trainers don't grip.
I was going to ask you that. So see how like even like I learned from doing that desert, right? Going from the salt plain, so it's pretty much running on salt, which you were saying there, it's pretty slippy. So it's a bit of and it feels completely different underfoot, I would imagine, to then running on sand, which is a completely different thing altogether. Is your shoes okay for that? Would you change your shoes?
Nah, it was fine.
Right, okay.
It was great. They were good. Those shoes. I would recommend trail shoes, but there's people that race with road shoes, to be honest. It's just... if you like them, whatever it feels. Yeah. And these races, whatever feels more comfortable for you, because you don't have enough. It's not all trail and it's not all salt and it's not all soft sand. So it has a little bit of everything. Different. So whatever feels comfortable, whatever rocks your boat, that's going to be the best. That's the answer for you.
Actually, just for this podcast as well.
No, I did not leak the floor.
No, I was just going to say there that. Actually, knowing Tanya, right? And obviously we've had this discussion about salt in the past and how intakes of salt.
I do thought about it.
Is that?
But I was like, I'm going to lose time.
Did you try and taste the salt?
I thought about it, but I thought I'm carrying this massive backpack. Like I definitely need to like totally stop and then like lick the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not.
Because remember when we went to Krakow?
Oh yeah, we went to the salt mines in Krakow.
I was like, we've lost Tanya. Where's Tanya? And I turned around and she's licking the walls of the salt mine.
I couldn't believe all that was made of salt, so I needed to taste it. Okay.
To see what I need to deal with.
So I was just licking the walls.
So you now understand. And then I'm like, you now understand why I need to ask these questions.
And then I scream back, "Yeah, it's definitely salt."
Yeah, it tastes salt. And then I look around, and then your mum and dad's licking the walls, and I'm like, oh. So obviously I had to try it myself.
Oh, yeah, it is salt. Well, sadly, I did not. I do regret that. So if you go into the race, yes, do it. And that's my regret. That's one of regrets. I think I should have done it just to taste it.
Just to see what it's like.
Yeah, just to taste it.
Actually, see also as well, just so you know, see when we're talking about stage 1 here, I don't know anything about it because we had decided, we decided for the podcast for me not really to ask the questions then, but to ask the questions now.
You don't know any of the stories.
I don't know any of it. I obviously looked at from the social media side of it and posted pictures, so I know what it looks like. I know what some of the script is.
Struggle that
but I don't know. I don't know whether you like salt or not.
They didn't take a picture of you licking the salt.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will be really fun. This is going to be the first time Andy's listening to all the crazy stories. So the first stage was, the first half of that the first stage was really runnable. Like I said, it was through the salt farm, really flat, running through like crunchy, that sleepy, off looking, because wherever you looked around, it was like ice, It looks white, obviously.
Kind of sparkly though.
Sparkly with the sun, because imagine like salt has like hits that, the light make it like kind of sparkly, and it was like ice, but it was not ice. It was really hot, so it was not ice. It was just weird. It was one of those weird places to be running in. When I never thought about running in salt, and it was like a desert of salt because everywhere you looked, it was white. And then we passed the water banks, which they were pink.
So I take it out because there you're running at the ocean side, at the seaside?
So the race started in the ocean side, and then that first stage just kind of like went through the farm, and then we turned the last half. Actually, we ran a little bit through in the ocean side to get into the desert, and then we started going into the desert. So the second half of that first day was kind of like starting to get into the desert dunes.
Oh, right, okay.
So
the weather, not big dunes or anything like that.
Not big dunes, nothing. Quite nice flat.
Just
it was
a nice transition into
the weather was actually not too hot because you're still in the seaside, so you get like that cool breeze.
The breeze.
So it was actually not bad. And I even thought, if all the race is going to be like this, I'm going to be grand. This is going to be easy.
You started off like, okay,
I know.
this is
I
good.
think probably I finished the first day in a pretty good,
you
smashed
place.
It.
Yeah,
I was like, this is great. If I can do this. But in the second, maybe almost at the end, my backpack was starting to feel really heavy. I mean, it's 10 kilos. I practice with it, but I mean, it's in the heat a little bit. And it was really, really, really getting heavy. And I don't know how I kind of like try to fix my backpack, just how it was sitting. So you know how you kind of like do a little jump and wiggle so the backpack sits, again, comfortably.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did, but I did that kind of jiggle. And I feel like this super hard pain, like sharp pain in my neck, shoulder kind of area.
Oh.
And I even got like goosebumps because it was one of those like sharp pains.
Electric shock thing.
Yeah. And I was like, I even stopped because I was like, I don't know if I can move. Like, I don't know if I broke something. I heard it so loud because when something cracks, you can hear it really loud. Maybe it wasn't like loud, but I could hear it really loud. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened? So I started kind of like walking a little bit, and then I started feeling that my whole arm was a little bit numb and really, really, really in pain. And I was like, hold on a minute, this cannot be happening. I'm like 30 kilometers in of this race and I'm already half broken.
Day one.
I was like, no, this is not the way I'm going to go down. So I was using my poles, and I realized that the poles was aggravating the pain. So actually I had to put them out and then just don't move the arm because I couldn't even like reach for food. Like this movement was impossible. Yeah. I couldn't even turn. So I was like, I don't know what I did. So I just wanted to get to the finish line and check in with the doctors just so they make sure. So I ended stage 1 with my arm hung up like this because I didn't want to move it anymore, and just kind of walking, just trekking, kind of jogging to the finish line. And I obviously went right away with the doctors, like something has happened. I told them the story, and they kind of like, I couldn't even bear the touch of the doctor just here actually. And I was like, no, there hurts so much. And he's like, oh, girl, I think you got a strain. And I was like, oh, that's great. And he's like, well, in the normal circumstance, I will send you to have a rest for a couple of days. But we both laughed. We're like, that's not possible at the moment, is it? So he's like, well, the only thing I can give you is a Tylenol, which is, I think, ibuprofen, like really light one.
Never even heard of that.
And he rubbed me, he gave me.
He rubbed me.
He rubbed me.
It made it better, did it?
And the worst part is that he didn't even he put it in my hand, and I had to put it on myself. I was like, oh, I'm going to get a free massage. And he was like, no, just put your hand and you kind of like put it on your own. I was like, that's not great. So he put me heat, was it called heat?
Yeah.
Those kind of deep heat.
Deep heat.
Yeah. I put it there. At least it was smelling nice though for a little bit.
I love that smell.
So I put it in there. I rubbed it a little bit, and he sent me grounded to the tent. He's like, "You can't move, just because we ended up quite early that day because it was a fast day. So it was like I have all afternoon, all night to." Like somehow my body needs to heal this. Yeah. So I was very, very cautious, and I just went. I could hear everyone outside partying. I could hear like the dancers, the volunteers from Namibia, the beautiful people would dance around after dinner, or they will sing.
To be fair, you'd be delighted with that. You're not really the party person anyway, so.
I did want to party the first day because I'm like, I have energy right now. I'm good. And I had a good day apart from my shoulder, but yeah, I was grounded, so I went to the tent and just lie down. Pretty much that was it.
You?
Yeah.
How weird is that? What happened to me 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, same thing.
Yep, mine was slightly different. I know I had sympathy pains. I'd done my rotator cuff, and so I know what that pain's like. It's like I couldn't sleep with it or anything. It was like it's really difficult.
But I was just like trying to pray. I'm like, please, it has to go because
pray to the running gods.
Yeah, the desert gods. Because even the backpack, even just feeling the backpack in there, it would have been painful, real. Yeah. It was really painful to the touch. Even so, I couldn't imagine having to carry a 10-kilo backpack in that area. So I went to sleep, and then the next day, same story. Stage 2. Woke up again, 6 a.m. The start is at 8. So before I even opened my eyes, I was just like praying to the desert gods, like, please, my arm needs to feel better. Like I want to at least have a pain-free day. So I started like moving my arm a little bit, and I didn't feel any pain anymore. So I started like testing it and everything, and the pain was gone.
You are lucky.
I think it was the desert powers, healing powers of the desert.
Well, do you know what? I think we spoke about this before, that there are actually people believe, and I think there's something in it, that it's a naturalist thing, that if you keep your feet or your body on the ground, whether it be grass, sand, earth.
Too much nature around.
But there's healing powers that come. There might be something in it. I mean, it's entirely possible.
I'll tell you what, there was another guy in my tent that he had something in his knee or his ankle or something, and the next day he was grand as well. Like I don't know, maybe the heat as well.
Yeah, it would definitely help.
The heat is anti-inflammatory, so it would definitely, if you take the rest. So I was happy that I did take all the rest that I could, and so day 2 started with no pain, like nothing happened. So that was great. Ready to go again. I'm like ready. So again, 7 a.m. Sam grabs the megaphone and gives, the little walk through the stage 2, and she called it Dune Heaven, which I thought it was like a really bad joke at the end of the day. So I was like, heaven? If this is your idea of heaven, we have very different ideas of heaven here. Because for me, it was like...
I wasn't even there, and I can see through the irony in that.
Oh, God. It was, It was hell on earth, I would call it, to that.
So see when you take off, right, for the start line on day 2, and you get to those dunes, what's going through your head? Because the pictures, because the images of them, some of them looked massive.
They were.
And plus running through them, it's like running through snow. It's like a different thing.
There was no running involved that day at all. I walked every single step of stage 2. There was zero running, like zero. The sand was so soft all day, and your feet will go all the way down to it. The dunes, again, you'd make one step and just slide down.
Yeah.
And at that point, at stage 2, you're still carrying a lot of weight. Like your backpack is not
9.5.
Not even. It still has a full weight on. Like there's one meal left. Like you just ate one meal out, but you still have pretty much all your equipment in. So it was very heavy. And then I could feel that we are in a different place now because the heat or the temperature definitely had a shift.
Yeah.
Like it was not more the nice seaside breeze. It was then roasting static heat. And that day, it clocked 43 degrees. And that was just, and I thought that was so hot. Well, I had no idea that would be one of the coolest days that we encountered.
The tricky thing, and I know we talked about this before you ran, when you're doing a desert, 90% of the time there's nowhere to hide.
Oh, there was no shade.
Yeah, I mean,
you've seen the pictures, you guys seen the pictures, you've seen the videos. It was open field. There is no way, nowhere to hide, even if you want to take a rest. I think I put in my last reel that people would, only the checkpoint, but people were sitting down in the dune and just like laying down in the sun. I mean, there was no other way to take a break. I mean, you couldn't, to just sit down there and just drop down a little bit and just, but in the heat, that no.
see with it, obviously the heat and the sand, I know you had your aura head, what do you call that? Sunwear visor thing. But what about your eyes? Because surely there must be a bit of wind that's blowing sand about.
The sunwear, it was amazing. Amazing. Best purchase ever. By the way, I'll put you a link down below for if you've seen me with my visor. And they gave me a ticket discount for you guys as well. Try it on. It was the best thing. It was the best piece of gear. Because it's not only like sunglasses, it's a mask pretty much. And it's a UV repellent. So that kept all my face cool and out the UV rays. So that away from the UV rays, your temperature, your skin temperature obviously doesn't get hot. And it was easier. Like I struggled in Jordan, for example, with the sunglasses. I get tired in my nose of wearing them.
A bit sweaty as well.
Yeah, sweaty. And it's just, and then you want to take them off and they end up with like fingers on them. And then you put them in your head and then you bend over. They end up falling. They're full of sand. It was just very messy. So whenever I seen this aura sunwear, I was like, that is perfect. Because I just needed to like tilt it down. And it was like full mask on.
Yeah.
And whenever I wanted a rest or I wanted to see the colors, I love seeing the colors. So obviously when you're wearing sunglasses, I feel like the colors obviously change because you're wearing sunglasses. But sometimes I love seeing like real colors like with my eyes. So I would just put the visor up and just kind of have a visual rest of my eyes with a little bit of, the color. So it was really good. So I just needed to tilt it up, tilt it down. And it kept my face cold or cool all the time. And that was only stage 2. And I was already like, oh, this is great. Like I could feel my face resting of the heat. So yeah, this was the coolest day we had. Well, apart from stage 1, but stage 2 was like, it was like almost like a nice introduction. It's made perfectly to like the first day was cool, like a little bit getting hot. Day 2 was real. I struggled so bad this stage just because of the sand, and I think it was the first time my body was like slapped by everything at the same time, meaning soft sand, carrying the big backpack and the heat, so overwhelming heat, and then trying to walk up these massive dunes, like trying to make a step, and then one step you have to make 3 to make up for that one, because you will do one step and then you will slide down. So it was very time consuming and energy sapping to just climb up each dune.
And actually, come to think about it, well, you did do a little bit of training in the sand. It wasn't really on dunes.
No, really.
So you wouldn't have experienced that elevation. Do you know what I mean?
And not even in Jordan. Jordan compared to this was packed sand.
Yeah.
So this for me was a totally different terrain.
Yeah.
And just with the heavy backpack and the heat so extreme, I could feel like my chest, like my compressed, like very compressed.
Like for your breathing?
So I couldn't even breathe. And there was a point that I was feeling very nauseous. Like I just wanted to throw up just because of the heat, which is very normal. I will say that. I will talk about it a little bit later. I never threw up, but it's not that it's common, but I did see a lot of people throwing up, which I will tell you all about this. It was like zombie land at some point.
I think in hindsight, what you're saying is that that's the sort of thing that there's nothing you can do about. There's no training that you can do that's going to help you for that.
I know. I was, and then, well, really? I struggle even to get to checkpoint 2. Like, checkpoint 1, and I was like, okay, this is not going to happen. I'm not even halfway through. I cannot even finish this. And then this massive dune, and I'm like, how the hell am I going to finish? I'm not even halfway. I'm already struggling. And then I still have another day and another day and an 80 kilometer after that.
Yeah, I suppose if you're not even halfway and you've got that in your head about what that's like at that moment in time, then that's when you start thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute, I've got more days of this to go.
I think stage 2, it was when the race had the most dropouts. I think between that and the thoughts that start getting to you, it will be very easy to quit in that moment because it looks so far away and it's like, oh, I'm already like it, and this is not going to happen. So but step by step, we follow the plan. Like I said in the first episode, I didn't take any decisions until I was cool down, fed, drank some water, hydrated again, and rested. Once I was like all that, I pretty much all the time felt great and ready to keep going for the next 5, because they usually have a rover, not a checkpoint, but like a car, which that was my aiming point. So it was every 5. Big checkpoints were every 10 kilometers. Big checkpoint means like a tent, volunteers, a medical, water, shade usually, with the tent, and they let you kind of rest in there for longer. Like you can have a wee lay down and just kind of let yourself cool down. And then every 5, because it was really hot, they put just a car, a rover, just with water. So it's not meant to be that you're supposed to like stop there for long. You just kind of like refill your bottles. And
then out again.
To be honest, I did sit down a couple of times and you could keep going. But yeah, that was a tough day. And I've never had that much cramps in my life. I was walking like a baby deer by the end of that stage. Because I was like, I'm trying to do a step and my leg would cramp. So I would be walking like...
because you'd be super dehydrated, even trying to get as much electrolytes and water into
it was the first day that, And after that, I started increasing my salt tablets.
Yeah.
And I think it was also just the effort. I think that was one of the hardest days of June-wise. So obviously climbing dunes muscularly is quite also hard because the other days was not as much elevation. This one was just really tough. So at the end of the day, even my hands were cramping. I remember I was trying to pinch my blister that I had in my heel, and my hands were like I can't do my blisters. And we're laughing in the tent with my tent mates because they're the other guy in front of me, Mike. He wasn't the same. I was like, my hands, and he's like, I know I'm the same. So we're both lying down in the tent with like creepy hands, like, yep, I don't know what's going on. And then my feet were also cramping, so my tiny toes were like this. Oh, it was just like it was cramp party everywhere. I couldn't move because then my back would go, my finger would go. It was just wild. But hey ho, we made it. We made it through stage 2. That was one of the hardest days, and I recorded it because I didn't want to forget that feeling.
Yeah.
So I actually recorded it. It's in my last reel in my Instagram. I recorded me saying this is one of the hardest days I've ever had in my life. But this is no joke. Like I was trying to record my emotions in the moment because I know I was going to forget them.
Yeah.
So I was trying to record all those moments, and you can even hear my voice. It's like with like no air, not tired, no like, but like I couldn't even breathe anymore. Like I was just like I can't talk anymore.
But actually, day 2, I remember that you were still sitting in exactly the same position as you were the day before.
Oh, okay.
So while it was quite tough, I think you still kept quite a steady pace, if you know what I mean. Wasn't until the day after that
maybe
you started to drop back a wee bit,
Yeah.
But then I think, obviously at some point, I think I said to you when you came back, on day 3, did you have a sleep or something? Because it was, day 4 it was, did you have a sleep or something? You said, no, I just started, like, I decided I figured out how to do it.
Yeah, I figured out how to do it. We'll leave that one for a stage.
Yeah.
That's for the long march.
The long march.
Yeah. And then that was then stage 2. And that was the longest time I was out there. So it was 40 kilometers the same. And I did it in 9.5 hours. Imagine 9 hours in 43-degree heat. It was just brutal. I thought I was not going to make it. Seriously. I just...
Is there anything from those initial days? I know I said about the shoes, or maybe, I don't know, is there anything from those initial days that you would have changed in hindsight?
There's not. I was a little bit like, you know, after the race when you were in the camp and you're talking to your peers and the other runners and you're like, oh, I was doing my training in Glasgow. Like, this is a big slap in the face. And there was a couple of people that were training in really hot places, and even Oman and other places, and they said, you know what, it doesn't matter. We all struggle the same. Like, I train in heat, and this is hard. Like, it wouldn't make a difference. Maybe a little bit less, but they're like, it doesn't matter. It's hard, and that's it. Like, it didn't make a difference. And I tried to do a heat training. I went to the sauna, or like hot tubs and hot. Nothing prepares you for 9 hours battling in that heat. So it's pretty much a race. I think that's when I understood that it was not a running race like I've experienced before. I think it was it's a different kind of race. This is a totally different animal of a normal ultra. It's a race. It's about how good you know yourself,
real endurance,
and how good can you manage yourself.
Yeah.
So it was all about trying to keep myself. And that's when I realized, like, you can go as fast as your body wants. Because my body was great. I was not. I mean, apart from the cramps, I was not injured. I was not sore. It was not that. It was just the heat was taking the toll. So I was like, I can't go faster because my heart is just pumping in my ears and I'm going to throw up if I keep pushing it. So, or, you know, I had to be constantly monitoring myself. Like I do usual check-ins with myself every race. And I usually do it every hour or every 45 minutes. Like, hey, Tania, how are you? How you doing?
For those who remember Merengita.
Yeah, we have a conversation. We're like, hey, hello, how are you doing? Are we okay? Like, can we do a checkup? So I say, feet, yeah, they're great. There's no red spots. There's nothing, because you need to address anything that feels weird or odd in that moment. You can't wait to be like, oh, I'll wait for the checkpoint.
It's too late by that.
It's too late. So so I do checkups like, okay, is there anything bothering you? So I even move a little bit, check myself, like, no, everything is good, everything's in order. Are you hungry? Yeah, a little. Okay, let's take food, water, let's drink. And it's just that constantly conversation with yourself. If I had it in a normal race every 30, 40 minutes, I realized that in here, I was going to have to do it every 5 or 10 minutes because everything was going so slow. Yeah. So it was draining me much more faster. So I had to be really conscious about myself. And then a mistake could, you know, it will be too late. You know, if you're thirsty or, you know, you're too way dehydrated, it's too late when you'd want to try to go back to a normal level. So I realized that it was it was not going to be a fitness test. It was going to be more of
it's an endurance thing, isn't it?
Maintain or take care of yourself.
We always spoke about the mental toolkit thing, so it sounds like that's a really big application of that. The mental toolkit in the sense of getting your mind ready for it, but also being able to talk to yourself and say, right, listen, am I okay here? And knowing your body well enough.
You have to know your body so well.
To turn around and say, well, hold on a second. That doesn't feel right. Let me address it right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, I guess it's the knowing how to tackle that. I mean, that must be a big thing, that if you do come across something, the knowing how to deal with it, whether it be a cramp or whether it be
mentally or physically.
Either way.
Even in the camp that night, I went again to the medical just because I had a blister.
For another rub.
Another rub. I like your rub. Can you rub me again? For a tiny blister that was coming in my heel, and I couldn't. You're supposed to heal and tape yourself and do everything yourself. The doctors are there to take emergencies, obviously, and all those things. But in this case, I did ask them if they can help me because it was right in my heel and I couldn't turn that way. Like it was really back in my heel. And also my hands were cramping. So it was really hard to grab a needle when my hands were like this. So I actually tried, because the medical is like, okay, you're going to pinch here. Like it will walk you through, but they cannot touch you.
Yeah.
So she tried, and I grabbed my needle, and my hand was just like, and I was like, you hold on a second. And she's like, I will help you. Okay, that's fine. So once they notice that you cannot do it, they will help you out. But the idea is that you're supposed to take care of yourself, like completely. But I was there, and she was helping me with my feet and kind of helping me with that because my hands were not working. And next to it was a runner with an IV being treated. And I knew I know we shouldn't go by looks, but seriously, he looked super fit, super lean, like super nice, well equipped. I can see his gears was like compression, like really, you can, maybe he's done it before. Like he looked the part, definitely. And, and that's when I realized this is not a fitness test. Like there's probably more fit people here that are not going to make the race. Yeah. And it's not about fitness. It's just maybe he pushed too much. Maybe he was not in the right place. And that's when I realized, I think that was the second realization, that I think this is about survival, rather than, apart from obviously the elites that are racing for a place and, but for the 90% others it's about just learning how to manage ourselves. And like you said, you need to know yourself pretty good to kind of do those check-ins timely before it's too late. So that was the stage 2. Like I said, I think that was the day that a lot of people, not a lot, but I think they had like 5 or 6 runners that decided to not keep going. So that was the day with the highest ones. And then later on the race, there was 1 or 2 in the next stages. But this one was, I think, the hard one. And it took a lot of people down, definitely medically, and people that didn't want to continue. So I've heard there was a couple of medical
emergencies.
Yeah. And then there was a couple that were just like, no, this is just too much for me. I can't do it.
I mean, I guess that's the thing is these races are not to be taken lightly. Because, I know that there are people, and you told me there are people that are saying, this is my first ultra and things like that. They're not to be taken lightly. But having said that, you need to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that sometimes that you don't necessarily have... See when you see if that person you were saying to me, it was their first ultra, and actually in the beginning I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, fair enough. But then when you're out there, on the course, in the field, you think to yourself, oh my God, if I'm really struggling, how's that person going to be doing?
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think that was one of the guys in my tent. He's never done an ultra before. He's done marathons and going for the long stage, where we'll talk about it. Stage 5, that would have been his first ultra. But imagine your first ultra being after 4 slaps of 40. For me, it was hard. Now imagine. But he did it.
But that's what I was going to say, because he's done it, and everybody's got to start somewhere. And actually, he'll probably now be thinking to himself in future, all these other ultras that he'll do is like, these are dead easy compared to that last one.
Totally. This one is definitely, and I spoke now that I've been able to, after the race, I was able to talk a little bit more this time because I was not injured or anything, but just a little bit crampy. But I was able to kind of go out and talk to more racers and more runners, and I was like, don't tell me all days are going to be like this, or don't tell me that all the deserts are going to be like this, because I don't think I can do this. And they were like, oh, is this your first race in the planet? And I said, yeah, I'm trying to do the Grand Slam. And they were like, oh, there's people there that have done them all, maybe not in the same year, but they've done them in different years or different races, and they definitely said that this was the hardest one of them because of the heat. Yeah. So that was a little bit of a relief. I'm happy to hear that I think, and everyone's like, oh, you chose the easiest one, isn't it? And they were laughing, like, why did you choose the hardest one? It's like, I didn't know it was the hardest one. I thought it was the first one of the series, and I just went for it. But they're like, oh yeah, you're brave. You're going for the first one, the hardest one. I was like, I didn't know I had a choice, but and I didn't know it was going to be the hardest one. I thought I liked heat, but now heat has a different meaning for me, I think.
Yeah, I bet it does.
So it was really, really fun. And actually one of my tent mates, actually, he finished MDS, which is Marathon des Sables, a couple of years ago as well. And he was saying this is a little bit more brutal than that. It's the same race. It's the same idea of race, stages to 50 kilometers, self-supported. It's the same race. But that one, it's supposed to be called the toughest foot race on earth. Yep. But I was asking him, like, what's the difference now that you've done that one and this one? And he's like, to be honest, this one's a little bit harder. And I was like, oh, that's great. It's interesting. And it's not publicized like this. So yeah, I'm not trying to put anyone off. But like I said, remember I said, anyone can do this. Yeah, just be careful. Because it's not. Definitely not as easy as we all thought.
But remember, there's people out there that love the challenge as well.
Yeah, so it's like just prepare yourself. I think you can do it. Just be cautious a little bit.
So would you do it again?
So,
Namibia?
No.
No, done. Never going back.
I don't do the races twice ever. And this one would be crazy if I do it again. So I am so happy. That was the other thought it was running in my head. I was like, Tania, if you don't finish this, do you know you're going to have to come back? And I was like, hell no, I'm not coming back. That is not happening. Yeah. I'm finishing right now because this is over right now. Yeah. So no, not coming back. And yeah, so that was my little recap for stage 1 and 2. It's going to start getting tougher and tougher from here on. And I have a couple of questions as always. I put it out in my socials to send me your questions. So we got a couple of questions. We got a little bit more this time than the first time. So I'll try to sneak in 2 or 3 today. But yes, keep sending them over if you have any questions in regards to what you're listening. I'm always here. It can be a DM or on Instagram. So the first one, what is your why? What is my why?
Why do you do it?
Yeah, because you know how it's so big out there. Like, you have to have a why.
Well, we answer that.
I answer that and then you answer. You want to answer what is my why?
Yes, you answer it and then I'll answer it. Okay. Or do you want to do it the other way around?
The other way around. I have mine written down. Oh, well, okay. I have it already answered in bullet points. So I'll let you answer.
For me, it's 2 different things.
Okay. What do you think I do it?
You're wired differently in the sense as you always want a challenge, and from that challenge you always need to win. You always have a challenge where you're like something that's maybe just out with your reach, and it's not even just in running. It's in life in general, and it's always just out with your reach, and you have to win it. And if you don't win it, then it drives you insane.
I will die on the line.
Aye, you die on the line.
Definitely.
And the other thing is I think that somewhere in that head of yours is you want to go down in history and be famous for something.
My egocentric
madness that is going on.
I need to be.
The first thing she said to me about the rest of the planet thing was not about the 5 deserts and all that. It was, I mean, I could be the first Mexican.
Yeah, I told you guys. I was good.
And I was like...
And I said that in the first episode. Whatever motivates you, it can be something so superficial.
Yeah.
Like, I know that is superficial, but you know what? I do want to be in that website when you click Mexican and this is the first, it can be something as deep or as superficial if it works for you.
Well, there you go. That was a deep and a superficial one.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Mine, I love the concept of the why. And I think it's been thrown out there. And every time someone asks me why, I always kind of reply, why not? Like, why wouldn't do it? I don't have a deeper, like super deep why. I do it because I want to show myself I can do hard things. So you are right in that. I am healthy. I have the time. I have the money. I have the youth. I have everything to do it. So
at this moment,
why not?
So why not?
I don't know if tomorrow, I know it's going to sound like super,
any of that could change.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to cross the street and something can happen. So right now I can do it. So I'm going to go for it. And I just seen in a blog of a runner as well that is on Instagram, one of the peers that she was also running with me, and she said that she had she was in deep pain because she had blisters on her feet, and I could see her face. And in her blog, she mentioned that her why was off the window.
Yeah.
Like she is like, F my why. I don't care about the why. I just want this to be over. And she was like concentrating in survival more than the why at that point. So in my case, I think that happens to me. I don't have that deep why, because I know that when you are deep in that pain, in that struggle, you forget about the why. All that goes out the window.
I don't know so much.
When you're like in that pain and discomfort. So some people may swear by it, like, you know, but in my experience, it happened like the girl. Sometimes you're like, I don't care about this.
I've just got the vision of you being in that kind of pain and going, but I could be the first Mexican to get...
No. That is, you know what? You don't care anymore.
Yeah, I know. I've read that before with some other athletes.
You don't care about anything. And I'll tell you what, that happens a lot. It's not that I'm putting this challenge at the same as climbing Mount Everest, but that's what happens with a lot of climbers.
Yeah.
I climbed as well a couple of volcanoes in Mexico, and that's what the guys say. Like, don't get summit blind. Just trying to get to the summit, because you still have to go down, and there's going to be a point that you want to just... nothing is going to matter. You just want to give up. So it doesn't matter about your why or nothing. Everything goes off the window. So that goes back to what I was chatting in the first episode, that instead of the why, I just have a rule and mental strength to follow when that moment happens. So I just concentrate in the moment. I listen to my body. And I guess I was saying, just be very self-conscious of what's happening in my body. And I didn't even have time to think in my why, to be honest. I was just too busy, again, trying to survive. So just putting the rules, again, my rule was you're not going to quit if you're cold, if you're hungry, if you're tired, you're going to rest, you're going to do all that. And once you've done that and you still want to DNF, then we DNF. Yeah. But we need to follow that rule.
Follow the rules.
So that was pretty much what carried me. Not my why. Yeah. I didn't care if I was in the website or not anymore. Yeah. At some point, I was like, just get me out of here. But I was like, no, I cannot quit until, I take my list. Yeah. And usually, like I said, once you sort all those things, you will feel better and you will be able to keep going.
I think it's a really good question. For example, me, I was a long time ago into extreme sports. I used to be a BMX, a freestyler. And you'd see people, and even when I had broke bones and things like that, even back then, even now, they have the why. The why isn't anything like you're doing. The why is to get that trick and get that trick completed and do it to perfection. Mm-hmm. That is their why. It's nothing else. Yeah. It's not about the fame. It's not about anything. There's something inside those people that it's about, I need to get that trick. I need to achieve that moment. You know what I mean? And that for them is the important thing. So I guess it's different for everybody, the why.
It's everything.
You know what I mean? But I think it's a really good question.
When they have a family member that's sick and that kind of carries them through it, that could be a really a good why. Like, oh, my mom wanted me to finish the race. Like those kind of things. If you have that motor, like... Definitely grab that, definitely. But I mean, in my case, we spoke about it. I don't have one, so I had to find ways to trick my mind and push my mind and kind of like jump those hurdles whenever they come. Yep. So that's my tip, or that's what I did. Question number 2. What are your thoughts during long solo runs or in this race?
Do you want me to answer that as well?
She describing that I seen in your pictures and in your videos that you're running alone, and I said that yes. She was asking me also if I was running alone most of the time or if I was with people. A little bit both, but most of the time I was alone. A lot of time alone.
Do you want me to answer that question?
Yeah.
If we were still back in Glasgow, it would have been Andy needs to paint the kitchen. I think that we probably want to get a different car. I have 700 other things in my head. I've seen a new pair of trainers that I like. Andy needs to paint the kitchen.
You said that twice.
Because it was in your head twice.
It was in your head. I'll tell you what, like I said, I wrote down my bullet points so I didn't forget. But that is true. And if it's a short training run, a medium run, sometimes I do have a to-do list.
Aye.
So I have a mental agenda of things that I need to solve work-wise, or, I think about work-related or if I have an athlete and they're, going to this race, I kind of start thinking, how would I want to program their sessions? And I call them work runs. So a lot of my work, or creative work as well. Like
creating work for me.
For you as well. It's done like that. And I record my thoughts in my phone.
Yeah.
So voice notes. So I send WhatsApp voice notes to myself.
Yeah.
I know you saw them one day, you were like, this is
what
weird.
The hell?
Me talking to myself. So sometimes I even stop and write them. If it's like something that came in my head, so I just put them in my notes but some are learning runs as well, more so in training. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, my coaching or podcasts, science related things about running. So anything that kind of like puts me updated or keeps me updated. And plus I love I know it's going to sound weird, but I do love the science of the body. Like sometimes there's some studies that I hear and I learning through this podcast or books, and I'm like, my head just blown away. I was like, the body is just unbelievable. So I love that.
I think we mentioned it in another podcast about when Tania goes out for long runs. As Tania would come back from a long run and say, so I was thinking. And at that point, I always panic because it involves me doing something that I probably don't want to do.
Sometimes it's like, I think I'm going to do this.
I was thinking,
think that.
I want to go to Santorini. That's been the best one.
I think we need a podcast.
Yeah, that was a good one.
There you go. See, true, yeah. So, that's where all
that's true.
But in this case, that's usually like when it's a chill run, when I'm like in my flow and I can think. But in this case, I thought I would have some like those kind of moments where I can like enjoy. And it was
panicking too much.
In this race, it was just all about survival mode. Like I said, there was no other thoughts than just my meat check-ins. Like checking with myself. Are you okay? Are you good? Are you thirsty? Foot. No. Your feet. Is it okay? Are you overheating? How's your heart rate? Oh, it's above 150. Okay, let's just chill a little bit. It was just a continuous self-care, self-management. Yeah. It was tiring. So this, like I said, this race all about managing yourself pretty much. And you may be the strongest runner, the best runner, but if you don't know how to manage yourself, that was you out. There was,
Fair enough.
You will not make it. So there was not a lot of deep thinking in this one. Next question number 3. How am I feeling about the next? They wrote stage, but I wrote back asking the stage or desert. A stage of like 3, 4 or desert. This listener said it was a desert. So how am I feeling about Gobi? I'm excited. I know it's going to sound weird, but I feel ready, even though my stomach, my legs may not say so. But I'm ready. I started again, moving again this week. I did some light sessions. I'm feeling good. My body feels all right. My stomach is the one that feels a little bit iffy, but maybe I should cut off the Tabasco.
Yeah.
Once I do that.
Before either that or we're going to have shares in Tabasco soon.
Hormonally wise, I feel like this race, as the last one in Jordan, didn't break me as much. Like usually if I go through a race, a non-stop one, women, we push our hormones. Like it's such a stress that your hormones go wild. And my period gets all over the place. And I even get like these crazy breakouts. My skin just gets terrible. In this case, I feel okay. Like my skin didn't break out that much. Yeah. I'm not feeling terribly in that sense. So, I'm all right, I think.
Your biggest but your biggest thing about the last race was the heat.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be as warm in Gobi. It'll be warm.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that one.
So that'll be good. I think you'll probably feel that you'll be able to breathe a bit better. And what you've learned from the last desert, you'll be able to take with you. So it progressively gets better because of your experiences. Well, hopefully.
I think without the heat, we'll see.
Yeah.
But I think what I did right, again, it was the check-ins. So we'll just continue doing that. Yeah. But mentally, also, they say physically and mentally. Mentally, I feel I was a little bit knackered because that constant survival mode and then getting to the camp, and you cannot relax. You cannot just get to the camp, throw your bag and just, you need to get up. Out. Yeah. Put your mat, put your bed, get ready, because I like to set up everything before the night comes, because once the light is out, it was really difficult, obviously, in the pitch black to kind of navigate around your bag and everything. So
how did you get in the toilet? Since we always ask a question about the toilet, how did you get in the toilet in the pitch black?
The head torch. Oh, did you? Head torch. There were toilets.
Oh, so I guess you have to have that ready beside you.
Yeah, so I put that, and then you had to put your you have to put your meal out. You have to go and get your meal prepared, and you know that's the least you want to do. You're freaking knackered from like running all day, like you know. It's just, and again, you don't go right away into resting mode. Like you still have to think, like, what am I going to do next? I don't know. Do you want to go to the toilet? Change. I had a change of top at least, so I can rest and air out my top a little bit. So, you know, all those things, you're still having to take care of yourself. So it was very, very tiring mentally to then suddenly, you know, at the end of the race, it was like, oh, great. And then my parents were there, and it was great I was saying that it was great feeling to go to the first restaurant right when we finished. And I asked for a glass of ice, sparkling water with ice. I almost cried when I touched it, and my mom was like, "What? You're so weird." I was like, "Oh my God!" Like I've been dreaming for this moment. And then the room was ready in the hotel, so she opened the door and I just ran to the bed. Like those little things.
Yeah, make a difference.
It was just so funny. Like I never thought I would be so, I don't know, happy. I never thought I would be so happy about having a shower.
I never thought I'd be so happy about you having a shower.
I know.
Even when you come back.
I was like, that was a nasty shower, by the way. So yeah, and actually, it took me like 2 days to feel a little bit normal head-wise. I was a little bit drunk the day after. Yeah. Like I was walking around with my parents, and I was just like, my parents like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Whoa."
But if you think about it,
it's like a little drunk person.
Where you put your body under pressure and dehydration and all these other things. And then you let it
rest.
It's just rest. It's like.
It was like, I don't know if it was that or then that you probably are a little bit dehydrated still. I mean, you were in a massive deficit, regardless of how much you ate. I mean, I was burning 5,000 calories and eating 2,500 for 7 days. So that lovely was food. A lot. So maybe that, and it's, I will have to dig into that. Now that I'm going to do these races, it's going to give me a lot of things to research, I feel like. Body wise, like what's my body going through? It's so interesting. Well, I find it so interesting, but I don't know why I was like DC and a little bit drunk, but the feeling started wearing off. You know, when you go to a cruise and then you go down and then you walk around and you feel like the earth is moving a little bit just because you feel like from in the boat, just kind of like that feeling of like, I don't know, still feeling the dunes. It's just weird.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm putting my hand up. Like I
have
a question.
Yes, Andy.
Did you see any animals?
No. I seen a chameleon.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Sure, we'd chat about jackals and all sorts.
No. I'll chat about it on stage the long march, but it was through the night, and I was just like, please, I don't want to see any animals right now. I'll be terrified.
I feel a bit disappointed in that.
I know. No, nothing. Thank God. I don't know if I'm like, no, I don't think I could. I want to do like fight with a hyena for food or anything. Yeah. You know? So I almost feel that feeling of like experiencing the first everything, you know, like the first Tabasco. No, just the first cold water and the first ice. And it was just, so yeah, I'm almost missing it. So I'm excited to know that I'm going to experience it again in a couple of weeks. So 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and I'll be back here in the same spot.
Same spot again.
And hopefully with another medal.
I thought you were going to point at me and say another guy.
And another guy. We're going to change this co-host thing. I don't know.
Speaking of animals.
He's sleeping though.
Come on. It's been like he's come
all
on.
Right. Well, the episode is over anyway.
We've been saying for months.
That's all the 3 questions I wanted to share today. And lastly, before we go, we're going to introduce you to the love of my life. You can chat a little
Not me. Clearly not.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly not me.
That's not him. You know that one there.
It's been months since we've been going to show you the other member of the family.
This is The Chato, he is a Mexican pug. Oh, he is a little bit sleepy. He is 12 years old. He is the absolute love of our lives. We are parents of this gorgeous pug. And yeah, he's been all over the world with me.
He's been to, obviously, Mexico, Chicago, Amsterdam,
the UK,
London, Glasgow, and obviously all over there. And now Dubai.
So yeah, he will be the co-host of the Ultra Happy podcast. So
he's been to more places than my mum and dad.
I think so. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to us today with our special guest at the end. And I am so excited to bring you to stage 3 and 4 in the next episode. If you have any questions, please keep sending them. And remember that we are doing all this for the charity Semillas Durango. We still fundraising for those kids, underprivileged kids in the Sierra of indigenous kids in the Sierra of Durango. So I'm trying to, get funds to get them trainers and sports gear because they love running. And obviously the charity can barely make it for, those are like very,
and they're so appreciative. It's like
so cute.
Such a beautiful story.
The kids are such good runners. They've gone to a couple of races and actually won races.
Yeah.
Imagine if they have a little bit of support, extra support.
I think you're inspiring them and they're inspiring you.
Oh, I was so inspired by them because I had a phone call. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. I had a phone call with them before I went to Namibia. And obviously they looked really good and happy, but obviously I know some of them struggle really bad with family issues and family trauma and so many deficiencies they have in their life. And I'm here worrying about a race, but it was good to experience that lack. Not good, but I could relate a little bit. Yeah, it was humbling experience to live with with rationated food, and the water was, very, very, it was gold. So you had to take care of the water a lot. Things that they go through in their normal life. And I'm there paying to live that or experience that. So yeah, very humbling experience. So I want to help them to kind of keep them away from the streets and they can find a better, way to deal with their struggles that is not, the bad way. And just put them in the track of sports and knowing that running is obviously it's a great, we share that love. So expecting to fundraise for them. So I'll leave the link below as well if you want to support the charity. I would really appreciate it. And have a wonderful weekend. And remember to keep doing whatever makes you ultra happy.